He'd worked there for years. Quiet, reliable, invisible. To the billionaire, he was just another face in the crowd. Until one night, something unexpected caught his eye. A security alert, a shadow on the cameras, and then him, the black employee he thought he could trust. But what the billionaire saw next wasn't what it seemed. It would challenge everything he believed about loyalty, justice, and power. Because sometimes the real crime isn't what's caught on camera, it's what's hidden in plain sight.
Marcus never asked for attention. He came to work early, left late, and kept his head down. In a world that often saw his skin before his skill, he'd learned to stay quiet, to prove himself through effort, not words. Every morning he walked through the glass doors of the billionaire's company with a polite smile, never realizing how invisible he'd become. To his coworkers, he was dependable. To his boss, just another name on the payroll. But to Marcus, this job meant everything. A chance to give his mother a better life, to finally escape the neighborhood that had written his future long before he could. That night, the office was silent, except for the hum of the security lights. Marcus stayed late again, finishing a report no one would thank him for. Outside, the rain began to fall. Inside, a camera blinked red in the corner, recording, watching, waiting. He didn't know it yet, but before the night was over, one misunderstanding would turn years of loyalty into suspicion and expose the truth far bigger than either man could imagine.
The rain had stopped, but the silence inside the office was heavier than ever. Marcus saved his file, stretched his tired shoulders, and gathered his things. As he reached for the door, he noticed something strange, an email notification blinking on his screen. Unauthorized access detected. Security alert. His brow furrowed. He hadn't touched anything unusual. He leaned closer. The timestamp matched the moment he'd gone to make coffee in the break room. His heart skipped. Was someone in the system? He looked up at the camera in the corner, its red light still flashing. Watching. Always watching. Across town, the billionaire, Richard Harlan, sat in his mansion, scrolling through the alert on his phone. His company's security AI had flagged suspicious activity, Marcus's login. After hours, alone in the office, Richard muttered, narrowing his eyes. To him, it fit an easy story. A low-level employee caught snooping where he didn't belong. Moments later, the head of security stormed into the office. Marcus, step away from the computer. The words hit like a slap. Marcus froze, confused, hands raised. Wait, what's going on? But the guard's expression said everything. Suspicion, not curiosity. They escorted him out, past the same glass doors he'd walked through with pride that morning. His coworkers peeked from behind monitors, whispering. No one asked questions. No one defended him. At home, Marcus sat on the edge of his bed, replaying the night in his mind. He'd done nothing wrong. Still, his name was being dragged through whispers. He got caught stealing. They finally found him. The same people who once called him dependable now looked at him like a criminal. He couldn't sleep. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw that blinking red light, that silent witness. Maybe it had seen what really happened. Maybe it held the truth. But who would believe him? The next morning, he returned to the office to plead his case. Security met him at the door. "You're not allowed in, Marcus." The words cut deep. Through the glass, he saw Richard on the phone, calm, detached. Their eyes met for a second, one filled with desperation, the other with quiet judgment. "Sir, please," Marcus said, voice trembling. "I didn't do anything." But Richard didn't answer. He just turned away. Marcus felt something inside him break. Not just fear, but something deeper. The weight of every time he'd been followed in a store, every time someone clutched their bag when he walked by, every time he'd had to smile just to seem safe. He realized then this wasn't just about a system alert. It was about a system built to see him as guilty first, human second. And as the sun set that evening, Marcus made a decision. If no one was going to believe his innocence, he would have to prove it himself, whatever it took.
Marcus spent the next day digging through old emails, security logs, anything that could clear his name. Every line of code, every timestamp told the same story. Someone had used his logging to cover their tracks. But the deeper he looked, the more he realized this wasn't random. Someone wanted him gone. He gathered the evidence and went back to the office, determined to confront Richard face to face. Rain hammered the glass as he stepped inside, heart racing. The guards moved toward him, but he raised his voice. "I have proof," he shouted. The lobby fell silent. Even Richard turned, startled. Marcus held up the printed records, hands shaking. "This shows the breach didn't come from me. It came from your executive floor." Gasps rippled through the crowd. But Richard's expression didn't change. Instead, he walked closer, his voice calm, cutting through the tension. "You expect me to believe you over my own system, over my people?" The words stung deeper than Marcus expected. It wasn't just disbelief, it was dismissal. That unspoken tone that said, "You don't belong here." "Look at the logs," Marcus said again, voice trembling with anger. "Just look." But Richard didn't. He waved to security. "Escort him out." As they grabbed Marcus's arms, something in him snapped. "You talk about trust, loyalty, yet the moment something goes wrong, I'm the first suspect? Why? Because of my skin? Because I don't fit your idea of who belongs here?" The lobby buzzed with whispers. The guards hesitated. Cameras blinked red again, watching, recording, just like before. For the first time, Richard looked uncertain. His gaze flicked to the screen showing the live feed, the same footage that started it all, only now it was showing something different. A figure, white shirt, executive badge, sneaking through Marcus's computer after he'd left. The truth was right there, glowing on the monitor. Marcus turned slowly toward Richard. "Now," he said, voice low and steady, "do you believe me?"
The footage told the truth. The real culprit was caught, an executive who'd used Marcus's credentials to hide his own fraud. Overnight, the story spread through the company like wildfire. Apologies came, meetings were held, and Richard's tone softened, but the damage was already done. Marcus didn't want revenge. He wanted acknowledgement, an apology that meant something. But even as the company cleared his name, the stares didn't stop. The whispers still followed him down the hall. Because clearing a record doesn't erase the doubt people choose to see. So Marcus left. He packed his things and walked out of those glass doors for the last time, not in shame, but in quiet strength. He realized his worth had never been defined by a paycheck or someone else's perception. It was defined by the truth he stood for, even when no one believed him. Months later, he started a mentorship program for young men of color, helping them navigate workplaces that often question their presence before recognizing their talent. His pain became purpose. His silence, a voice for others who'd been dismissed, doubted, or unseen. But the question lingered in every speech he gave, every story he told. How many more times must someone prove their innocence before we start believing their humanity? Racism doesn't always wear a badge or hold a weapon. Sometimes it sits behind a desk, signs paychecks, and smiles politely while judging in silence. Marcus's story isn't just about one man in one company. It's about every person who's ever been seen as a threat instead of a teammate,
a problem instead of a person. Because until that changes, no camera, no policy, no apology will be enough. So ask yourself, when the next Marcus walks through those doors, will you see him for who he is or who you've been told to see?